Hello, and welcome back to Wilson versus Wilson, show where we discuss politics, news, and whatever else we come across. I'm Peter Wilson.
I'm Jess Wilson. So we're going to go ahead and start off the show today with Vice Versa. This is a segment where I read Peter some headlines and I get his quick opinion. He has not heard these headlines, and I don't think he knows the news. So we're just going to go through. We'll start with one from Washington Post. Greta Thunberg detained by police at Germany coal mine protest.
Oh, didn't hear about that one. By the German police.
Yes, by the German police.
Interesting. I mean, what was she doing? Was she just protesting or what?
Yeah, she was protesting. Do you want me to give context or do you want to give your opinion first? Or just whatever comes to mind?
Obviously, I would imagine that coal is a big deal because right now in Germany, because Russia, if you look at, I saw a graph recently that was a year ago, Russian oil supplied 40% of German energy, and now it supplies 0. So I would imagine coal production is ramping up, and that's probably why she was protesting. But there's also a war on, so it is tricky that way.
Yeah, I will give you the background. Also, the cover photo for this story is a picture of Greta just sitting while she's being carried by 3 police officers, just smiling, having a great time. But there is a abandoned town, it's an abandoned village in Germany that was being, it's about to be, I don't know if it has started yet, but it's about to be bulldozed to make it a coal mine. And she and a bunch of other people were there to protest the coal mine because they say it goes against Germany's greenhouse initiatives and renewable energy goals. So no one was arrested or detained or taken into custody. They were all just detained and then shooed away. But yeah, she was detained.
She's been in the news a bit lately because of Andrew Tate.
That is the funniest.
That was wild.
That is the funniest thing I've ever seen. For any of our viewers who aren't familiar with what happened, Andrew Tate, not sure how to describe that guy.
He's a provocateur.
I don't like him.
And a sex trafficker. Probably,
yeah,
so.
He's allegedly a rapist as well in multiple different countries. But he was was he a kickboxer? Was that his sport?
I don't know. With that chin?
He was a professional fighter. We'll go with he was a professional fighter, made a crap load of money, and previously said that he moved to Romania because their laws around sexual assault are more lax. So that's a thing he did.
Which is an extremely strange thing to admit.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing to do and a very problematic thing to do, but it's a very bad thing to admit.
From what I've picked up, he just really, really hates women. So he put out a tweet adding Greta Thunberg, listing the carbon emissions of one of his cars and was like, give me your email and I'll send you a whole list. And she said,
get a life. She said my email is getalife@smalldickenergy.com.
Yeah, she did do that. And he replied with a 2 or 3 minute video where there's a pizza box in the front of the shot, and the pizza box is from a local chain in Romania. That's only in Romania, and the Romanian police were waiting for signs that he was in the country to arrest him, so they raided him. Yes, I'm hearing from our director that he was a kickboxer. A really good kickboxer, unfortunately.
Well, you take enough hits to the head, and then you're like, you know what? I'm going to admit to people that I'm going to Romania because they're more lax on rapists.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm giving him a deep voice. I don't know whether he looks...
He has a weird voice. Yeah. I'll say that.
I've never heard a word he said.
Well, he grew up in between Indiana and England. So his accent is all kinds of weird.
Reminds me of a guy I know.
But yeah, his response to Greta Thunberg immediately got him raided and arrested by the Romanian police.
Not for what he said to Greta Thunberg.
Not for that. For sex trafficking. But his response to her kind of outed that he was in the country. So
she's just Greta Thunberg's like 20, right?
Did you see her reply?
No.
She said this is why you recycle your pizza boxes.
Oof. Can you? I don't think.
You can.
Even with all that grease?
You can rip the top off, and that part doesn't have grease.
Or you can burn
rip
them for
around
heat.
the grease. You should not burn cardboard. That's bad. That's why there's ordinances against burning trash, specifically because certain things that you burn release harmful chemicals, and cardboard is.
Next, you're gonna tell me I shouldn't burn plastic.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Please do not do that. Don't do that.
I don't think there's anything that smells worse than burning plastic.
Yeah, everyone at home, please don't burn your trash. I don't know if that's illegal here, but it is illegal in Ohio. Is it illegal in Kentucky?
Well, I don't know. Probably. I would guess so.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You can burn your paper if you want,
Yeah.
but preferably not the other stuff. Please do not burn that. We'll go to our next headline. We got a little off track. So NBC News: Trump prepares for return to Facebook and Twitter.
Fun. I'm all for free speech. I'm also all for Trump leaving public life forever. I don't. How's he returning? Sorry. Is he just loading some? It's not like he puts a lot of thought into his tweets anyway. That's been evident. That's what got him kicked off in the first place.
Yeah, well, apparently he's been unbanned, so he's getting ready to come back.
I mean, I'm not against him being unbanned, but I am against him.
I think I'm just kind of personally against him in general.
Oh, well, yeah.
Pretty much anything you say about Trump, I'm like, I don't like that. I'm against that. I'm against him talking for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm against people listening to him more than anything.
I just personally.
Yeah, I'm still curious what prepares means.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the context for that one.
Also, this is wild. So, this is related to Trump and his means of communication.
Okay.
So, over the break, I worked at a newspaper, and one of my duties for a week or two was just checking the news folder for the paper. And some person had subscribed to the local Democrats, Trump stuff, blah. Trump email every hour on average, probably.
Yeah.
And now here's the thing. I think a lot of these probably aren't Trump at all. They're just people trying to profit out of it. It's official Trump gold card, official Trump golf balls. There's so much. It's crazy. We got a letter when I was home that was the Association of Mature American Citizens. It was it is a counterpart, not a counterpart. It is a competitor to AARP.
Okay.
That apparently has been let's go all in on Trump.
Oh no! Why? Why?
So they have the Donald Trump endorsed gold Association of Mature American Citizens cards. Which, if that's not ironic, right? That Trump would be headlining the Association of Mature American Citizens when the only reason he's not president is because he couldn't shut his mouth, is kind of hilarious. Anyway, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I just wish he would shut up. That's my opinion. Just stop speaking.
Reasonable.
No more speaking. No more for you. No more for you. I'm generally not in favor of silencing people.
Oh, I'm not. I think he has the right to speak. I just wish he'd use it better.
I just personally think he should not speak. And we'll go to our last one. We've only got 3 today. And this one is from NPR. Maine newspaper apologizes for running a redacted version of I Have a Dream speech.
What did they redact? Sorry. Just I have a bleep.
well, give me your thoughts first. Give me your thoughts first.
You shouldn't run a redacted version of the I have a. You should, if you're gonna run it, run the whole thing. What did they redact?
I didn't read the specific parts that were redacted.
I gotta know.
I've been told that it is, or I've not been told. What the article says is that it was specifically the parts of the speech that discussed racism, systemic racism, and its relationship to poverty.
Was it edited for shortness?
So the paper put out a statement saying that they run this specific editorial with the abridged version of the speech, and they have been running it every year, and this is the first year that people have read it and been like, huh?
Okay, so because you could, like, I don't know how long the I Have a Dream speech is. Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of depends, because there are some abridged versions that include the essential parts. I think the discussion of systemic racism is kind of essential to
feels important.
That speech.
That's an editorial choice. And a lot of people, so many people, everybody quotes MLK these days. And people will quote him to prove exactly opposite things.
Yeah, I
think he's reached the level of, like, in terms of how often he gets quoted to support every cause, he's giving chase to the Bible. Like,
I feel like a lot of people who quote MLK have no idea who he was, or what he did, or what he stood for. Like, they just kind of like, it's this guy.
I think everybody has, like, they're like, he's the civil rights guy.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of people that's where their understanding stops, and they don't.
Which, to some extent, he is the civil rights guy, but...
He's one of the civil rights guys.
Yes, true. The most famous. The second. What's the top 5 civil... Turn this into a ranking show.
I don't know.
Top 5 civil rights guys.
I don't know if you could pick 5, because there were so many people who were so instrumental to the civil rights movement. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people are just like, him.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
So...
It's like Gandhi, if you want to go with peace. You know, if you're like, let's talk about peace, let's quote Gandhi. Like, if you want to talk about civil rights or dreams or, like, ambition or whatever, go with MLK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of the headlines I had for you.
Yeah.
That was just
today, I guess the newspaper probably, if they issue, like, you don't have to quote the whole speech every time you quote, right? So.
Yeah, but like. Yeah. You definitely should include the parts that talk about racism.
But it's still an editorial choice.
That's kind of essential to what the speech was about.
I want to go read the whole speech. I'll probably do that later.
It's a good speech.
Yeah.
It's a quality speech.
The Gettysburg Address is really short, and that's wonderful. I appreciate the fact that he was like, people got lunch to get to.
People got lunch.
If I had a president that gave that short of speeches, I wouldn't have shot him. Sorry.
Anyway. You had it here. Peter is planning to assassinate a president that doesn't give short speeches.
I'm just saying, once he goes over 45 minutes, like, chill.
Oh my god.
No,
you have a specific time.
I would not shoot a president for going long in a speech.
Jesus.
I mean.
What? You can't
have some respect for people's time.
Peter, you have to stop doubling back on this. You have to stop. You have to leave it at you won't shoot a president.
I won't shoot him.
Peter, you have to stop. He does this. This is a problem. He's gonna get us all arrested one day. You have to cease and desist on this one.
This is fair. So what's next? We're gonna do
moving into the main portion. We can talk about the local news first if you'd like, or we can talk about kind of the everything else that we had planned. More of national politics.
Let's go with open records first.
Okay, that is our local news. But we do have to give. I feel like this one isn't such a widespread knowledge. Like, it's kind of confusing. If you don't know a lot about. So I will give an intro. This is not the whole story. This is just the most summarized version that I can think of. So what essentially happened was EKU used to be a part of the Ohio Valley Conference. We'll call that the OVC. And there's a clause in the contract with the OVC that says that you have to give a certain amount of time notice that you're leaving the conference, otherwise you get a fine, like a big fine. EKU did not give notice, and then they just pieced out to the ASUN conference. So the OVC said, we are going to take that fine. You owe us this money. And EKU said, no. So there's a lawsuit and a counter lawsuit going on. And EKU's arguing that they don't have to pay the fine because the OVC broke the contract in other ways, which made the contract null. It's a lot to say.
Litigation.
That's the lead up.
Yeah.
That's what all this is about.
The issue is this is shout out to the Richmond Register and Nathan Hutchinson and Ricky Pryor, who broke the story and did the digging for it. But the athletic director at EKU, Matt Rowan, was emailing the EKU president, the now former EKU Board of Regents chair, Luis Diaz.
You should clarify. This was on private emails and not their official university emails.
Yeah.
And the emails that they were sending, I'll let you explain specifically what they were, but they were about university business.
I think Rowan sent the email from his EKU email address to the private emails of McFadden, the president, and Diaz, the Board of Regents chair. And he said, we'll keep info related to any other league on personal email away from open records requests. And Diaz responded, agreed. So basically, open records laws are that this is Hillary's emails all over.
Oh my, okay, I'll explain open records. So there is the Freedom of Information Act, which lays out that there are pretty much every kind of record except for, is it 8 exceptions? There's only 8 exceptions. Every other kind of record from a public institution, a citizen of the public can ask for those records, and there's laws about how soon you have to give those records over, and what records are allowed to be kept back. But essentially what they are doing is that inter-department emails for university business are subject to the Open Records Act. But they said they were going to put it on their personal emails so that they couldn't be Freedom of Information Act requested. So they are actively trying to get around the law about freedom of information.
Which, one of the things I think is to be noted here is that one of the things that's protected from open records laws is preliminary things. So some of these plans about other leagues wouldn't even be subject, regardless of whether it was on their personal email or their school email. But also, like, concrete plans would be subject regardless of whether they're on their school email or their personal email.
Yes. Well, it's the extra issue of they shouldn't have been talking about university business on their personal emails, because that in and of itself is an attempt to get around FOIA.
Yeah.
And it's against university policy, so the administrator's breaking their
interesting
own
kind of
policy.
Politics
Interesting.
there. This is not to say that EKU is alone in this. Lots of universities in the state have been skirting open records laws, but it relates.
I'll go even further to say that I don't think there's a single government institution that has not tried to skirt an open records request here or there.
Yeah.
Or often tried to skirt open records requests in some cases.
And I think also right now, the open records laws in Kentucky have been kind of knocked down a little bit. During COVID, the General Assembly made it so that, I think I'm getting this right, instead of 3 days for response, it had to have 5 days for response, which may not seem like a huge deal, and it's not necessarily a huge deal because it's understandable.
I would say it's a huge deal because you have to think, when it says 5 days, it means 5 business days, so that takes it from you getting your answer usually within the same week you asked for it, as long as you ask for it early enough in the week, to taking sometimes more than 7 days to get a response, because they can ask for more time as well. So they could, in theory, take up to like 2 or 3 weeks to even give you a final answer.
Yeah. But open record laws are really important, and also, generally speaking, they can be really pesky, I'd say. If journalists and citizens, because anybody can file an open records request. If you meet the requirements.
Yeah. Kentucky just changed their requirements in 2020 so that you could only request records if you are a citizen of Kentucky, a member of a business that operates in Kentucky, or if you are a part of a news gathering organization, which thankfully, as an Ohio resident, I am part of a news organization. So I can still get my records, but infuriating, I'll say.
But that, like, fortunately, okay, anybody in Kentucky can get records from Kentucky. So just if you happen to want to know something about the government, most government offices, you can scroll through and find a place to submit an open records request.
And I will say, if this is something that our audience is interested in, this is not just for the state of Kentucky, this is the entire country. So if there's some information that's on the federal level that you want, you can also request that through open records.
Yeah, it's a very, it's an excellent thing to have.
It's one of my favorite laws, I gotta say.
Yep, it's important. Yes. Okay. Anything more on that?
I'll say my opinion is I just think it's really sketchy to intentionally try to avoid open records requests. I just think that's bad. Like beyond the just, because there are some times that if you submit a request, they'll send it back saying that they don't know what you're talking about because you didn't use the exact specific words that they need you to use to give you the records. And I think that's also, like, that's not my favorite thing, but that's at least more understandable. This was just, like, preemptively a decision specifically to restrict access to information that is public record.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
And then write about it in an email that's public record.
Yeah, I'm not a fan about that.
Which is...
I think transparency is really important, and I don't appreciate the intentional murkying of the waters, I suppose.
And ultimately, transparency is going to probably be better for your university in the long run.
Yeah, and also they've kind of dug themselves into a hole with using their personal emails because now there's more information that's subject to open records requests than would have been. Because the emails that were requested as evidence, once the lawsuit's over, I'm pretty sure those go into public record.
Yes.
So now they have a whole bunch of extra emails that wouldn't have been an issue being public record once this lawsuit is over. And that, I don't know, that might come back to bite them. I just think it was a bad decision.
Yeah. And, probably operating out in the open is going to be better for a school in the long run. People are going to be more likely to go to a school that they feel is trustworthy, which is what telling the truth will do for you.
Yeah.
Not that I guess Matt Rohn wasn't lying there. He just was saying, here, what we're going to do.
He wasn't lying because there's no one really to lie to in that email. It's just a very overt attempt to avoid transparency.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Which, I guess that sort of segues into the Biden documents and the Trump documents. And
Yeah, it does indeed. I'll give more context for our listeners at home, though I'm sure you've already heard about this. The raid on Mar-a-Lago, that's kind of, I'm assuming you know all that, but there were classified documents that were in Trump's house, and now they have found in
Biden's garage.
In Biden's garage.
In his Delaware house.
In his Delaware
the other
home.
side of the East Coast.
Yeah, that there is also classified records in there, though I know they found a second set of records. I know the first records didn't include anything that was, it didn't include, nuclear secrets.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. But I don't know what's in the second set, so I don't know if I can give really a judgment of which was worse without knowing what's in. But
they're both clearly a case of mishandling classified documents.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Please.
Which maybe we just shouldn't be electing.
Yeah, and the back-to-back of it kind of, like, not, like, back-to-back, but, like, the fact that both of them did it makes me think that it's more of a systemic issue than a one-off.
Yeah, like,
which makes me nervous.
The good news is you guys might have an opportunity to choose between Trump and Biden again in the 2024 election.
Don't remind me. Why would I want to remember that? Why would I want to think about that, Peter?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's an issue for next year at this point for me.
Yeah. No. But I think
that makes me tired.
Yeah, it's fair. The questionableness of both Biden and Trump in terms of, obviously Trump has I still think Trump's ahead in that race to sleaziness. I mean, generally speaking, never mind. We're not going to go into this.
Okay.
But Trump there's some sketchy stuff that he's done with classified documents, and there's clearly some, at least, mishandling that Biden has done with classified documents. And we know that Biden has people close to him, i.e. his son Hunter, who are not necessarily the most upstanding of characters, even if they're not as bad as they're made out to be sometimes.
I think that goes both ways.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Trump has some family, man.
Yeah, I feel like that's not just a Biden issue. I feel like both of them probably should not have classified documents unwatched anywhere.
Which is, I am so boggled by the fact. Anyway.
Let's stop electing old men, is my opinion.
Yeah, let's aim for someone under 60 this next time.
I'm done with the old men. I'm done with the old men. Give me someone else. Anyone else. Not anyone else. Just someone else. Actually, there's a guy, I can't remember where he's from. He was running for some office. You've probably seen him. Vermin Supreme? He wears a boot. He wears a boot on his head.
Kentucky, right?
Is he in Kentucky?
No. Let's look that man up. I've heard of him.
Vermin Supreme. I have no idea who he is, and he does go against my opinion.
He's a libertarian.
Yeah, he does go against my opinion of let's stop electing old white men, but I feel like he could do a better job than either of them.
There's at least one old white man you'd be okay with electing, Bernie Sanders, right?
Yeah, I would elect Bernie because Bernie has a history, a well-documented history of standing.
This guy's basically Bernie.
Really?
No.
Okay, I was like.
But he does promise a free pony for every American.
Hey,
which I'm just saying could cut emissions.
I watched a clip of him where he was like, "I'll promise you whatever I want because I am lying to you, but I will make those promises because that's what I do as a politician."
He's essentially a parody of a politician.
I think it's very funny.
He has campaigned on a platform of zombie apocalypse awareness and time travel research.
Yeah.
And promised a free pony for every American. His middle name is Love.
Yeah. I feel like he's crazy, but honestly, I like him better than the other two options.
He's a member of the Libertarian Party's Judicial Committee. So he's not just a member of the Libertarian, he's like on a committee.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. I like Vermin Supreme. I don't know anything about his politics, and I probably disagree with him on many things. But I at least appreciate the transparency of just...
I might vote for this guy in 2024. I nearly made a pretty large mistake in 2020. I almost voted for Kanye.
Peter.
I didn't. Because I was like, you know what? That's an unserious thing to do. I don't even remember who I voted for, but it was like people who I wouldn't have minded being president, which is kind of... I did not vote for Kanye.
Thank you.
I don't support Nazis. He also wasn't a Nazi at the time.
Maybe he was just a secret Nazi at the time.
Well, how would I know? I don't know the guy personally.
Yeah, no.
That would be an interesting friend to have.
I
said interesting, not good.
I don't think...
You can't deny that he's not interesting. You can't deny that he's interesting.
I don't think he's interesting. I think he's a fascist. And I don't find anything interesting about him.
You don't find anything interesting about Kanye West?
No, I don't think he's interesting. I think he's a run-of-the-mill Nazi who's just saying the quiet part out loud. And I don't find anything compelling or interesting about that.
Wild. I mean, bad people can be interesting.
I have no concern for anything he has to say at this point.
Well, no, I'm not like listening to him.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't think.
Also, didn't he just like disappear? Did I hear that wrong?
I don't know. I haven't been paying attention because again, I don't care. I'm uninterested. Yeah. I don't find anything about fascism or anti-Semitism.
He glitter bombed a guy at this Vermin Supreme. Back on Vermin Supreme.
Okay.
He glitter bombed some guy at the New Hampshire Institute of Politics.
Okay.
He's just...
Yeah.
He's just an interesting guy. He dropped out after Joe Jorgensen got the nomination.
Yeah.
His running mate was named Spike Cohen.
Vermin Supreme and Spike Cohen.
Yeah, and Spike Cohen was the VP nominee for the Libertarians.
Okay. Hell yeah. All right. For sure.
Anyway, Vermin Supreme.
I can't. Wait, is he from Kentucky?
I don't think so. I think he's from New Hampshire.
Okay, New Hampshire.
Or maybe they just do a bunch of stuff in New Hampshire.
Well, I can't vote.
Right to pony.
I can't vote in either of those states, so I guess it doesn't really matter to me. But
Where was you born?
I do enjoy Vermin Supreme.
Oh, he was born in Massachusetts.
All right.
Something good came out of Massachusetts.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Mishandled classified documents. Generally, I don't know why.
Stop doing that. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
That's what
records are tricky and they
Quit
can be
that.
complicated, but they're not that complicated. Don't take them to your house. Definitely don't leave them at your house.
Yeah.
Definitely don't leave them in your garage.
Yeah, quit that.
Yeah.
And I say that because one day, one of us is gonna get a hold of something like that, and then everybody's gonna be mad. Everybody's gonna be mad. Okay? So stop doing that.
Or like,
Quit that.
somebody from another nation that wants to know where we have like nuclear secrets or something will get a hold of it in like the end of the world,
That sucks too, but I feel like it's
That's
more
fair.
realistic that it'll just find its way to a newsroom.
That's fair. And yeah.
And then everybody's gonna be mad. And then one of us will get assassinated, and that's how it's gonna end. And that sucks, so please put your records away.
Or we'll die.
I'd like to get assassinated for something interesting, at least.
Hey, nuclear secrets are interesting.
You don't even know that it's gonna be a nuclear secret. What if
Yeah,
some of the
it's just
classified
like
what if some of the classified documents are just like the
so many
like the
classified
personal
documents would be so
interests
boring.
of some other world leader?
It's
Like
some-
like the favorite vacation home of some random billionaire.
It's just one of the many times that we tried to assassinate Castro. Did you see that Zelensky survived 12 assassination attempts?
Yeah. Also, did you hear about the helicopter crash?
I did. I saw that.
Yeah.
That the Ukraine
It was a bunch of
yeah.
interior ministers.
were died in a
Yeah.
helicopter crash. I don't know
It
if
was, it was 14 people
I don't
died.
know if it was shot
It was
down
an
or
accident.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Helicopters are scary.
Yeah.
That's kind of on a random note, but
Yeah, no, they are scary. I don't trust them.
they have no stable flight path, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
We should get an aviation major in here to talk about helicopters. No.
I don't know. Did they teach helicopter flight at EKU?
That's a good question.
I think, from what I understand, it's
No.
just planes.
Where does one go to get a helicopter license?
Not here. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's just planes here. Because I know a couple aviation majors.
Plain and simple.
It's just planes.
Okay, where were we next?
We have a couple other things. I was gonna say on the docket, but this is not a courtroom. To talk about. Do you want to talk about the Speaker for the House nominations or the shootings?
Let's go with Speaker for the House first.
Okay.
Speaker of the House first. So what was it? 16 ballots? 14 ballots?
I thought it was 15.
Okay. It took Kevin McCarthy so long to get elected Speaker of the House.
So funny.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Like,
so
the
here's
situation is bad. It's because he's still being held hostage, essentially. But I just think it's really
He's
funny.
also like. Here's the thing. Some of the people that were refusing to vote for McCarthy are some of my least favorite senators. One of the ringleader was Matt Gaetz, who I
Yeah.
don't know why anybody listens to the man.
I don't know.
And then I think Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of them
Yeah,
too.
and Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
The whole squad, if you
Yeah,
will.
the ones that almost everybody's like, why are they there?
Yeah.
I don't know if George Santos was in on that, but anyway, but it took like a whole lot of votes for McCarthy to get elected Speaker of the House.
Well, technically, he even didn't really, because he just got a couple of people who voted
President.
other to change.
Yeah, he didn't
to
exactly
president,
persuade people.
So he didn't
They
really.
changed a lot of rules, including one that made it so it only takes one member of the House to vote for a recall vote on the Speaker.
That's not a rule change.
Yeah.
That's because of the balance of the votes.
Okay.
I think.
I
if
thought that was a
remember-
rule change.
Was it a rule change? Because there's also a thing about a balance of the votes that if one person switches, it's kind of.
No, because I think that was a rule change.
Okay.
Which is just seems like it's just wasting time, which is back to the theme of
that's the
the
point.
legislative branch. branch being incredibly bad at their job.
Yeah. It's just obstruction.
But part of the problem, the reason that Kevin McCarthy is Speaker of the House is partly because the people didn't really unite behind anybody in particular. Like they did propose Brian Reynolds, who I don't know much about. I saw him on one television show and he seemed to know what he was talking about, which is nice. But they didn't. They kept switching. Like they went for Jim Jordan for a bit, even though Jim Jordan was like, "I don't want to do it."
That was who Gates and his clan wanted.
Yeah,
they
and Jim Jordan was like, "I don't want to be Speaker of the House."
I'm uninterested. I really don't want.
I mean, I don't know who would want that job. Clearly, Kevin McCarthy wanted it pretty badly. He was willing to ingratiate himself for it.
It's so funny.
But the reason that I kind of am like, it makes sense to not vote for him is because it seems like Kevin McCarthy doesn't really stand for anything.
No,
he
does not.
He stands for his own political career, and he stands for kind of what he can get done, no matter what it is.
And the other thing is he promised to cut Medicare and healthcare.
Yeah, which, I mean, likelihood of him actually doing anything, always low.
He's gonna try, but...
Yeah, but there's...
Ugh. I mean, the Senate won't pass it, so it doesn't really matter if he tries, but...
I don't see much getting done in the next 2 years, really. Which, kind of...
I think the funniest way I've heard it described, because towards the end, Gates and a bunch of that specific group, it was like 10 of them?
Yeah.
10 or 20 of them? They were going on the news, and people are like, what do you want to vote and end this? And they're like, I don't know, there's nothing I really want.
They want attention.
They're just obstructing for the sake of it.
Which I can get behind.
I think the funniest way I've heard it described is one guy was like, I think this is the only hostage situation I've ever seen where the hostage takers' only demand is that they want the hostage dead.
That's okay. That's pretty funny.
They're holding everyone in Congress hostage, and they're refusing.
We don't like this guy. We straight up don't like him.
No one can get sworn in until the Speaker of House is selected, and they're just like, we just don't like him. We don't have any other demands. We just don't like him.
I will say I feel like the last last 3 years have been really good for civics education in the country. Because, I don't think anybody thought about the Speaker of the House vote much. Like, it was kind of formality. Now everybody's like, now anybody who follows politics, lightly is like, I know the details of how that's done. Just like before, people were like, you know what, let's storm the Capitol. Nobody was like, oh, they do this ceremony that certifies it literally doesn't, it doesn't change the results. It's just, they got to do it.
Yeah. It's just kind of a formality.
Yeah, the whole thing where they're like, Mike Pence can do it if he wants. It's like, no. And he doesn't want to.
He can't really, and he doesn't want to do that.
It's like, guess what? Mike Pence didn't like being Vice President Trump either.
Sorry, he's not. He's crazy, but he's not that crazy. He's just a hair under, thankfully for everyone. No, I think, and also, did you see the part where they were like, oh, it's over. He's elected. We got the vote. And then someone in the House was like, actually, it's not. He's got to win. He needs one more vote.
I mean, part of it is a lame duck session, so doesn't matter who's Speaker of the House, but it's not a lame duck session, but the houses are split, so I don't think much is gonna.
There was a lot of the Democrat representatives were walking in with popcorn. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think if I was a Democrat representative, I'd play that up a bit too. It's just embarrassing.
There was someone on TikTok. I don't think the video that they were requesting ever got made, but I'm desperate. It's just Ryan moving. I thought someone was trying to break into the room again. We had one recording that we had to scrap because people came in 5 or 6 times while we were recording. But there's someone on TikTok. You know the Kevin's Not Here audio from Home Alone? It's the whole family, and they're like, give this to Kevin, give this to Kevin. And then at the end, they turn around, they go, Kevin's not here, Kevin's not here. So it was like, I need the Democratic senators to pick up the Speaker of the House placard and do that to the audio.
I think a weird thing for Republicans, I think, has been the fact that they've had pretty stable in some ways Senate leadership for a while.
Yeah,
Mitch McConnell is I think the longest serving Senate leader.
I think so.
I think he just passed, and he's the longest serving.
Gross,
Senate leader.
but yeah.
And here's the thing, love or hate Mitch McConnell, and I don't think very many people are like, yeah, he's my favorite politician.
Gross.
He's not incompetent, which I think.
No, that's what pisses me off more than anything else is because he does know how to do the job.
Yeah.
He just does bad things with that.
You're like, he's good at doing things I don't like, right?
Yeah. No, he's good at playing the political game.
Which I think Kevin McCarthy kind of is because he's Speaker of the House.
Eventually, he succeeded, but
he's not on Mitch's level, and
no, he's nowhere close.
And there really hasn't been I guess.
Because let's be honest, if Mitch McConnell was in Kevin McCarthy's situation, he would have found a way to game it from the back end so that there would not have been more than 2 or 3 votes. Probably. He would have, yeah, because he knows how the game is played and he knows how to manipulate things to get what he wants.
And because he's been doing it for 60 years or whatever.
Yeah, and after 15 votes, Kevin McCarthy figured it out a little bit.
Well, it basically said, "I'll give you everything that I can possibly give you to get the gavel." I think it's just embarrassing for McCarthy.
For the last vote, because the last vote, what happened was he just convinced, I think it was 4 Democratic senators, because Gates switched to president, and that was the vote where he still didn't win.
So he's convinced 4 Democrats
to switch from other to present.
Yeah.
So he eventually figured out a smidgen, but he's nowhere near what McConnell's doing, which I don't like what McConnell's doing. I don't like him, but he knows how to play politics.
Yeah. And I think the House for the Republicans has generally been more incompetent, which it sort of makes sense. Senators have 6 years to figure it out, right? Representatives have 2. Half of that they spend campaigning.
Yeah.
There's not that much time to do that much.
And you can't even really, it's like a miracle, from my understanding, if a junior representative introduces any legislation of their own. Yeah. So it's not, you
gotta get a couple terms under your belt.
Yeah, you're not going to be doing anything unless you've been there for a while.
Which, one thing I think is notable is that there's these people who haven't been in there very long, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, or I think Matt Gaetz is pretty fresh too. A term or 2. Yeah.
Also, he doesn't even really seem that interested in the political sides. He seems like he just wants to build a brand. Like he has, I think it was a Twitch channel.
What?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Focus on governing the country.
Yeah.
He's Matt Gaetz the second.
Indeed. But I get what you're saying. There are a lot of new, more greener representatives who are doing more than is typical. Like AOC is doing a lot more than. Has he been in a while?
He's been since 2017.
Okay, so yeah, he's at that point to.
Yeah, it makes
to be doing some.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is her 2nd term.
Don't even get me started.
Which I guess is also the case. There's a lot, but there's also, I think every political party wants to appear to have some sort of youth movement or fresh faces.
Yeah.
And Gaetz is not. He's not old. He's 40.
That's pretty young for a representative.
Yeah, that's old for young for representative.
Yeah, because a lot of them are old men.
Yeah. And the same thing is true with, say, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the Democratic side, right? You want people to know about the young people, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're more likely to, say, run for Senate, run for, get more power, build a more national brand. So that's part of it that you want, but I don't know why you would highlight this guy. Which, part of it, he just is good at making the news about himself. He's another all publicity is good publicity guy.
That's what I'm saying about, which I don't know how to get that. He's really more interested in building a personal brand than he is in actually
governing.
Which is true. The politics and the lawmakers, which, but, I don't know why they wanna, cause I don't know if they're necessarily getting behind him because he was in the minority, in that small group of representatives that was trying to obstruct for the sake of obstructing.
Yeah.
And someone did try to fight him on the floor. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guy grabbed him by the face.
Yeah, someone tried to fight him on the floor of the House of Representatives. So I don't know if they're highlighting him so much as he's just maintaining his own personal media circus.
That's true. He's not, yeah. Now, I think one thing that's interesting that we haven't discussed about the Speaker of the House vote is that Donald Trump was like, hey guys, you need to stop that. And like, I don't know why that's my voice for everybody. Right? But he basically said, vote for Kevin, get him in there, get stuff done, which is interesting. Then they ignored him, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll say
because because A, he kind of threw himself in with the establishment of the Republican Party, which doesn't love Trump. Like, they're doing everything they can to not have him make it.
Yeah, which that was another headline I considered, but didn't end up picking, is that they ran a poll, which is like a mock primary of Trump and DeSantis, and Trump crushed DeSantis for presidential nomination in their
Incredibly
mock
stupid.
poll.
If I was Joe Biden, I would want to run against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Because he's an incredibly weak candidate.
Now he is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, and
Which
Joe Biden is also an incredibly weak candidate, so...
But we also said he was a weak candidate in 2020.
But he was a weak candidate in 2020, and he lost.
Oh,
He won in
2016. Yeah, I'm mixing up my years.
He wasn't that weak of a candidate in 2016.
Ah.
And he was running against Hillary Clinton, the most hated person in America.
Yeah, they were both really weak candidates, but that's again the same situation we're going into in 2024 if it's Trump and Biden, is they're both weak candidates and they're both very much disliked.
It's almost as if you make having to spend billions of dollars on a presidential campaign and loving how good you would be and wanting that power is not a great qualification for being a good president.
Yeah.
But what time is it? Okay. We had the shooting guy to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Unless we've got anything more on Speaker of the House.
I think, yeah, we can just move on to...
What was the guy's name?
You want to look because you got your laptop. I just know the general basics of it, and... Yikes.
Okay.
It's a yikes right there.
Oh, he didn't even do them himself.
No, he was in the car for some of them.
Okay. So
that's part I do know.
So this is from NPR.org. A losing Republican candidate in New Mexico is charged over shootings at homes of Democrats. He lost.
Yeah, he did lose.
He was arrested in Albuquerque, so he is not in any elected officer. Solomon Pena, who unsuccessfully ran for a state house seat in New Mexico as a Republican last November, was arrested Monday in Albuquerque for allegedly paying 4 men to shoot at the homes of 4 elected officials, police said. They say Pena paid $500 and then he took part in one shooting himself. That's just stupid. If you're going to pay people to shoot other people, don't.
Yeah, the one he was involved in, the way I understand how it was explained, is that it was kind of like a drive-by situation where they just drove up in the car and started shooting out the windows, and he was there.
Feels like that's not a $500 task.
Huh? Oh, I don't know. I feel like putting out a hit on an elected official is probably more than $500.
Honestly, yeah, they should raise their rates.
They were doing it for cheap. But also, thankfully they did not hit anyone, though in one of the shootings,
they shot through the walls of a 10-year-old girl's bedroom.
Yeah, they shot into the representative. Was it a representative or was it a senator?
It says, here's his 4 elected officials.
It was one of the officials, the Democratic officials he paid people to shoot at or shot at himself, depending. But they missed people, thankfully, but they did shoot into the room of a 10-year-old, that official's 10-year-old daughter. So
jail.
You know.
In one case, this is from the NPR article. In one case, Pena had visited one of the officials 1 or 2 days earlier, appearing at her home unannounced to complain that the election was stolen from him.
Yes. Also, that's an extra thing of it was that he was like tweeting that I never conceded in the election I lost. I'm looking into my options. And then the officials he went and paid people to shoot at, I think at least 3 of the 4 were their jobs had to do with the certification
One
of the
was
election.
the county commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
or a county commissioner. There was a couple of them were county commissioners.
Yes. Yeah. So they were.
There were 2 of the 4 county commissioners who voted unanimously to certify the general election results.
Yeah, there were people involved with the election,
which is again a pretty standard thing. Like that's not the part where you argue about the election when you're going to certify the results. The part you argue about the election is when you are within 100 votes and you want to recount.
Yeah.
And there's a process for that. And usually recounts don't change elections.
Yeah.
Occasionally will, usually they don't.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize quite how much bipartisanness and like checks go into an election. At least in Kentucky, how it works is the Republican and the Democrat that are at the precinct, every precinct has one of each at least, take the results from that precinct, which are then posted on the wall at the precinct, and they take them to the county clerk's office, who then puts out the results.
Yeah, and it kind of depends a little bit precinct to precinct, but it's also, like if you go on election night to wherever the results are being certified, they are reading the exact number of votes out to you live, so you can know the exact number of votes for every candidate and every ordinance in the election.
Yeah. So it's not like election fraud's impossible, but it's hard to pull off, certainly hard to pull off on a widespread level. And I don't think they'd do it for this dude's New Mexico race.
There's also so many people involved in the process to certify an election that it's not so easy as one person is just like, I'm gonna screw with everything.
It is
It's incredibly, it's near impossible for one person to change the results.
It's far easier to just go out, win an election than it is to to even change any of the votes. Yeah,
there was exactly one case I've heard of, and the issue was that someone accidentally switched up the results. So this one person running for office it was like a precinct of 50 people.
Yeah.
48 votes for one person, 2 for the other, and they accidentally switched the numbers. Yeah. And then the people who were running went and asked their 48 friends who voted for them, and were like, hey, look, they're switched, and it was fine.
Yeah.
So...
and most states have some form of voter ID law, so you can't just go in and vote without, like, when I go to vote in Kentucky, I have to show my ID, or the person has to know me personally.
Yeah.
Which I think it's the same people for years at my precinct. They've known me since I was coming in as like a 10-year-old with my parents. But I think I still show my ID. So it's pretty hard to, and even that, like if I went in and somehow got through, that's one vote. I'd have to be on a widespread level, and then it would have to be all for one person for it to be an actual like problem. And even if it is a problem and you think the election's been stolen from you, you don't go and shoot the county commissioners, whose fault it is not. They're just saying, here's the election results
Don't shoot at 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
What?
That's the moral of today's show.
That's just kind of a general sentiment, is don't shoot at 10-year-olds, okay? We'll just, and I will clarify, like, don't shoot at 11 or 9-year-olds either. Don't shoot at kids, but, like, in this instance, specifically, they shot at a 10-year-old.
He got 26% of the vote.
So he wasn't even... Yeah,
it wasn't close.
It was a landslide. It was a landslide. He lost by so much. And he was like, they fabricated it. I actually won. I'm looking into my options. What options? You lost. You lost. Go home. Or in this instance, go to jail, I think. I'm in favor of prison reform, and I don't think people should be locked up for their entire lives, but go to jail for a while, sir. Go see a psychologist.
Goodness. Yeah. And then the general, oh, if I lost an election, it must have been fake, is just not a safe or good precedent to set at all.
Okay, even if you say that seriously, seek help. If you say that as a joke, quit that, because you're telling the people that say it seriously, you're just reinforcing their idea that that's a thing that can happen. It's not happening. That's not happening. Stop it. Quit.
I think we mentioned this after the elections, but not that all election denial has been on the Republican side, but most of it has been, that I know of. But there's been bits and pieces. There were certainly some people after Gore.
Yeah.
Stacey Abrams did it. People like that. But
Gore was a funky election.
Well, yeah, it was a
real
funky election, and some people went too far with their.
Yeah.
This was, whatever. But generally speaking, if you lose a race, it's because something you did wasn't going to represent the people well, and that's a introspection thing where you have to look at yourself and say, what am I doing that's not helpful, good, or that people don't like? And if you still want to run with the views you have, then you might have to make peace with losing. I'm not saying that every politician that loses should be like, well, I'm going to change all my principles. You shouldn't do that. But
just go actually talk to constituents. Go actually talk to the people that you want to represent.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
And don't shoot at county commissioners.
Don't shoot at county commissioners. I feel like that should be common sense.
Well, he got arrested, so the system.
Yeah.
What do you know? The system works.
Wow, this once. Crazy.
Okay.
Are we moving to our final question?
We're moving to our final question.
Our final question of today, because we were talking about it before the show started, is what is your favorite Coldplay song? Peter.
My favorite Coldplay song is Everglow.
Respect.
Very good song.
Respect. My favorite Coldplay song is Higher Power. The vibes on that one are excellent. Ryan, that's our director. He's very excited about this.
Hello. I've been waiting for this. I haven't listened, to clarify, I haven't listened to Coldplay in years, but when I was younger, they were one of my favorites. And so when we were talking pre-show and there was a chance that this could be the final question, I was more than excited because I actually knew something about this topic. My favorite, by far, is Paradise. I don't know why, just that song is just so... Its vibes are immaculate, as you like to say, Jess. I will steal that. It's a great song.
Sometimes the biggest hits are the biggest hits for a reason.
I want everyone to know that Ryan doesn't always set up his own microphone before the show. And when I said that we would do Coldplay songs as the final question, he stopped what he was doing to set up his microphone so that he could participate.
I knew I was going to have an opinion. I was just ready.
He was very excited to share with you.
Band. And they're also one of the, they're smart. They're they run their band like a business.
Coldplay.
They're not, and they're almost, it's just, they're cool.
I like Coldplay a lot.
Their live album's awesome.
That's
a weird plug to put at the end of
They're just some guys.
We like music.
We've taken a hard swing into Coldplay. Coldplay music, not related to anything we were talking about during the show, but
it's a new plank in the Libertarian Party platform. Coldplay, it's great.
For sure.
Charlie Brown's another really good Coldplay song.
Yeah, I also like him for Weekend a lot. Honestly, any song that's got at the beginning or end got the bird noises and layered vocals, that's for me. That's a song for me. And I'm gonna listen to it. Love that. That's my favorite. I think that's my favorite. Just kind of trope or technique.
Yeah. In
pop music, love it to death.
Interesting.
I like it a lot. Very atmospheric. It's got the vibes. It's got correct vibes.
I disagree on that one.
You don't like the layered vocals and the bird
I don't like the bird noises.
Have you heard have you listened?
I love bird noises.
No.
But I love bird noises outside
Have you listened to Golden Hour by Jake?
By who?
Jake. JVKE.
No.
Okay, I will show you after the show. It ends with bird noises and layered piano and violin.
I do love piano.
It's excellent. You'll like it a lot.
I'm a sucker
This
for
will
piano
prove
intro.
to you that the bird noises in music is good. Okay? It will. So, that's about the end of our show. I'll leave you with our 2 pieces of advice for today, which is listen to Coldplay and please do not shoot at county commissioners. Thank you so much for listening or watching. This has been Wilson P. Wilson. I'm Jess Wilson.
I'm Peter Wilson.
And we will see you next time.